Welcome to the Dream Power Show. I'm your host, Debbie Spector Weissman, the Dream Coach. I've been doing this show for a while now, and a crazy thought hit me. I've never done a segment on yoga. I find that surprising because yoga has become a regular part of my life, and it's the perfect discipline for the times we're living in right now. So I made it my mission to seek out one of the best yoga goddesses I could find, and I'm happy she agreed to be my guest. Giselle Toner has been practicing yoga since she was a child, and for the past 30 years, she's been teaching individuals and groups all about this wonderful spiritual practice. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Giselle.
Debbie, I really am honored that you decided to have me on here. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, Giselle, what do you love about yoga?
Wow. Okay, so where do I start? I really do have to say that yoga is one of the main reasons why I'm actually here doing what I do with my own life right now. Because when I was younger, my life was very tumultuous. I had a lot of, unsettling things going on as a child. And I think that that was one of the main reasons why yoga was something that I was very drawn to. So the thing that I love most about yoga is the fact that it centered and grounded me and actually kept me sane, happy, and connected to something much greater than myself.
I tell you, yoga for me, and I for a lot of people, take it because it's stress reducing.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but it's a good exercise. But it can also help with other health issues. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there's nothing that yoga does not help, to be honest with you. And of course, I'm not making any medical claims. This is not a medical show and I'm not a doctor. But I have to say that yoga works on such a deep level. First of all, you're getting your external physical movements. That's number one. But the breathing is so important. Your breathing is involved. If you're doing pranayama, breathing techniques while you're doing your yoga, which I know that that name may be a little foreign to most people, but pranayama basically means prana is the life force. Pranayama are the yoga breathing techniques, and there are several of them that are very important, but you're getting your physical moves, you're getting your breathing, your spinal column is getting fresh blood, fresh oxygen, it's getting going forward, backwards, side to side, twisting, bending. Your spinal column is your lifeline, and it is getting invigorated. Not only that, but your internal organs are getting also stimulation just from the moves that we do, the holds and the twists and the bends and everything else. So your internal organs are just as important as your external, your physical muscles, your biceps or your external muscles are very important. But if you don't have that internal movement, massaging going on, bringing fresh blood and energy and oxygen, you're not going to be feeling good at all. Okay, so that's just the physical end. Then we have the other part, which is the spiritual end. When you start to practice yoga daily, and when you really start to understand what you're doing, your body, and when you're doing these poses, and some of these poses are very difficult, okay? Some of them are a little challenging. What happens is you find that you're focusing on your body and on your moves, and you cannot think of something else out there, okay? So you have to focus totally on what you're doing and what you're feeling. But besides all that, when you're doing something difficult, you actually learn eventually and hopefully how to have compassion for yourself, to let yourself evolve slowly into some of these more difficult moves. And when you develop compassion for yourself, you take that from your mat out into the world. So that is why yoga is so special. It's not like a physical exercise routine. It is totally different. It is an ancient science, and it's probably over 6,000 years. Some people say 5,000. I think it's over 6,000 years.
One of the things that I really have come to love about it is the fact that you're breathing while you're doing these poses, because you don't realize, when you go along your everyday life, you don't think about breathing, but when you're doing yoga and you're forced to, you actually have to pay attention to your breath. And
Yes.
when you do that, it does take you out of whatever else you're thinking about. You're just concentrating on that. And I love that part.
You know, I know exactly what you mean, because if you can think of some of the standing balance poses, okay? So I'll just throw out tree pose. It's one of the easier ones. I do pretty advanced standing balance poses. When you are doing your balancing poses, you are not thinking of your water bills. You are not thinking of your electric bills. You are not thinking of the quarrel that you had with so-and-so yesterday. You are only thinking of, I need to focus every bit of my attention and energy on my foot because I'm balancing on one foot here. So it's so amazing because you actually have to bring your awareness inward in order to do it properly. And that's something that we'll never do unless we're forced to do it. So in yoga, you have to do it. You will not be able to do anything else if you're not focusing totally on your body and your alignment.
And I have to make a confession here. I really came to yoga very late in my life. For years, I was intimidated by it because I was afraid I'd mess up poses, and I was in a class, I'd look silly next to people who could also do it perfectly. So what do you say to people like me who might want to try it but are intimidated by that factor?
Debbie, I'm so glad you're saying that, because honestly, there really are a lot of teachers out there, and I'm not knocking anyone at all, but there are a lot of teachers out there that are not really getting what true yoga is. True yoga is not about gymnastics. It is not about going out there and showing everyone, look at how great I look in this pose. Yoga is a deeply personal practice. And the only thing that you need to focus on is yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of people go to these classes and they're seeing people that are doing these amazing things with their body, and they get so upset and worried that they will not go back. If they even ventured in, they will not go back. I always tell people that there is no such thing as the perfect pose. Everyone is going to their perfect level, and it's exactly where you should be. So if you're a total beginner, you never did it before, perfect. You need to do it, but you need to find the right teacher. That is the key here. If you're not feeling comfortable, you need to go somewhere else, because there are places that really cater to every level, whether you're beginner, intermediate, or totally advanced. The right kind of school or the right kind of class, the right kind of teacher will make you feel 100% perfect, exactly the way you are. And that's what you need to look for.
So what should you look for in a teacher?
Well, you do need to find someone who has experience. Now, there are a lot of teachers out there that are they just basically took a weekend course, or even if they took a longer course, they're not really experienced enough working with people. You need to find someone who has experience, that knows the body, that knows how to keep you safe, because you can get injured. You can get injured if somebody tries to put you in a position that you're not ready for. You're pulling a muscle or something even worse. So you need to find someone with experience and get recommendations if possible. And then the only thing you can do is actually try it. Go there and try it if it is an in-person class. I do a lot of online classes right now, especially with what's going on. So online is a little bit different, but it's still the same. If you have a great teacher, you'll be safe and you'll feel good with it. So you just need to do a little experimenting.
I actually kind of lucked out. I live in a small town, and somebody in the area was doing community yoga at our local library.
Mhm.
And the really nice thing about it is that it really is for everyone. She'll like show a pose and say, well, if you can do it at this level, fine. But if you can stretch, or if you can do it a little more, and she'll show how to do the advanced version of the same pose. But you
Yes.
don't get punished. There's no punishment. There's no judgment. Whatever you
Yes.
do is right for you. She just stresses it. It's just about
Yes.
being what's right for you.
That is exactly right. Exactly right. You have to be able to demonstrate a pose and say, okay, this is the base level. If you feel good with that, take it to this level. If not, take it even further. But you have to give people those different modifications.
Can you get the same effect from a beginner pose as you can from the more advanced ones?
When most people come to yoga, they're coming to yoga fresh. They've never really done a whole lot before. So what is easy for me is going to be maybe hard for someone else, but there is always a starting point. And if you're at that beginner level, you're getting the same feeling that I'm getting, only in a little bit of a different level, because I have to work really hard to get here. You've got to work really hard to get there. So you're still getting that same feeling, that same benefit, and that same euphoria, because you do get that feeling of euphoria. It does happen.
Speaking of euphoria, one of the aspects of yoga that makes it different, it's not a non-exercise class, it's a practice, and that involves the practice of meditation. So can you speak a little
Yes.
bit about meditation in yoga?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, Debbie, that most classes that you'll go to are geared towards the physical end. Very rarely will they actually put in meditation with their physical poses, because a lot of times there are time constraints. But meditation, honestly, that is yoga. Yoga started because the ancient sages wanted to connect to their higher power, and they would go and sit for hours and hours and hours in total silence, and they found that their bodies were a little bit not feeling so good from sitting for so long, so they started to do some stretches and moves, and in addition to that, they wanted to purify their body. But the meditation is true yoga. That is really where it all started. And if you do want to go into a meditation practice, it's very simple, but you just need some basics. If you learn the basics, it's very easy. You'll be meditating like a pro. And I seriously mean that. I know people are very afraid of meditation. They say, oh, I could never do it. You can do it. Believe me, you can.
When you say basics, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so when you learn about meditation, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind. The first thing is that you've got to be able to come to it with an open mind and no judgment. So you cannot go into a meditation saying, oh, I know I'm going to do this wrong. Number one, it's easy, it's gentle, and it's non-judgmental. Those are the three things you need to understand about meditation. The thing that you do need to do, though, there are certain things. You need to make sure that you're in a quiet place. You need to make sure that you're seated upright, because if you're lying down, you're probably going to fall asleep. And you need to be able to just focus on one thing. And there are several different things that you can do. I always teach making sure that you keep it easy and simple. Just focus on your breath. So all you'll do is you'll close your eyes, stay seated upright, start bringing your awareness to your breathing. You don't have to force it, just focus on your breathing. And then, of course, your mind is going to start chattering. It's going to start saying, why am I sitting here? This is uncomfortable. I have better things to do. This isn't for me. When you get those thoughts, acknowledge that they're thoughts, don't judge them, and just float those thoughts away and bring your awareness right back to your breath. You may do that 20 or 30 times in a minute, because your mind is going to be chattering. But after a while, you'll start to realize that those thoughts will become less and less, and you'll be focusing only on your breath. And pretty soon, you won't even know that you're focusing on your breath. That's when you go to that higher level. That is what we call the gap, the space between the thoughts. When you're in that gap, that is where genius is. That is where creativity lies. That is where you want to be. When you come out of it, you won't even know where you were. You'll say, okay, I wasn't sleeping and I wasn't dreaming, but I don't remember where I was. That's meditation.
How can people find out more about you and your services?
Okay, well, I have two very wonderful websites. One of them is eternityyoga.com. And people can go on there and learn a ton about yoga. There is probably 180 pages. You'll be able to find just anything you want to know about yoga. And you can also stay in touch with me through that page by getting a free ebook. It's called the Yoga 3-Step Blueprint. So they can go onto my website, eternityyoga.com, and click on the link for the free ebook. And that will give me the ability to be able to stay in touch with you, and you can contact me if you want to. And GiselleToner.com, which is my other site, and that will give you not only yoga, but a lot of the other things that I do, which is life coaching and equine coaching.
We've been speaking with yoga master Giselle Toner about the healing properties of yoga.